read Ankur's comment first. I find that chanting fills me with compassion. Today, a colleague has been treating me poorly and I was annoyed. While chanting, I prayed that I could be understanding and compassionate towards her to figure out why she is so stressed. Wonderful. It's a real application of spiritual understanding and realization. And just the attempt you made like that, it's very pleasing to Krishna. So he will reward you with higher realization in your chanting. How do you feel after praying like that?
Prabhuji, I feel a little liberated. You know, I've been working literally 12 to 14-hour days for the last for some time now for a mission that I'm very passionate about. I've been very blessed to find this colleague who is equally passionate as me. You know, I find that I make a lot of mistakes. I have my limitations despite my work ethic. And I feel like I've annoyed her, but you know, I feel every single day I pray to Krishna that I can get an opportunity to engage in his service. And today I was expressing gratitude to him because that's exactly what he's given to me. You know, that's exactly what he's given to me. And I pray for others. Mataji has told me that, you know, even if you pray for material things and success, it still pleases Krishna. And I've been doing that, but I'm not perfect. I still fail along the way. And I do try to forgive myself. And today I failed a little bit with her. But I'm trying to say, look, I'll still do my best. And, you know, she's stressed out usually she treats it with humor. Today she's stressed out. So what I want to do is ask for Krishna to give me strength to and humility to treat her with the utmost compassion, because that relationship is important to me. And I still consider her presence in my life a gift, because I could never do the work I'm doing without her, and we are very effective as a team. So I feel that Krishna has really blessed me.
Well, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. I mean, you basically turned around a situation uh, in such a positive way, and compassion is the key. Understanding and compassion. So wonderful. Thank you for sharing this. It's very inspiring. So I'm just starting the Facebook live. So give me a minute and then we'll get into our chapter 18. Okay, for some reason Facebook is not going, so I'm just going to share and then we'll move on. Vishal, you recording, right?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. So, Hare Krishna. So we'll continue with 40. We did that. We did this also yesterday. Brahma Bhuta we did. Okay. So we'll continue with text 55, which is also a very important verse in the Bhagavad-Gita. Bhaktya mam avijanati yavan yaschasmi tattvataha tato mam tattvato gyatva vishate tad anantaram. One can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And one is in full consciousness of me by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and his plenary portions cannot be understood by mental speculation, nor by the non-devotees. If anyone wants to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he has to take to pure devotional service under the guidance of a pure devotee. Otherwise, the truth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead will always be hidden. As already stated in the Bhagavad-Gita 7.25, Naham Prakasha Sarvasya. He is not revealed to everyone. No one can understand God simply by erudite scholarship or mental speculation. Only one who is actually engaged in Krishna consciousness and devotional service can understand what Krishna is. University degrees are not helpful. I'll just move on to the next one. Because of his pure devotional service, a devotee can understand the transcendental.
I think we should read this next paragraph.
Oh, really? Okay. One who is fully conversant. Ankur, you want to read this paragraph? Okay. One who is fully conversant with the Krishna science becomes eligible to enter into the spiritual kingdom, the abode of Krishna. Becoming Brahman does not mean that one loses his identity. Devotional service is there, and as long as devotional service exists, there must be God, the devotee, and the process of devotional service. Such knowledge is never vanquished, even after liberation. Liberation involves getting free from the concept of material life. In spiritual life, the same distinction is there, the same individuality is there, but in pure Krishna consciousness. One should not mistakenly think that the word Vishate enters into me supports the monist theory that one becomes homogeneous with the impersonal Brahman. No, Vishate means that one can enter into the abode of the Supreme Lord in one's individuality to engage in his association and render service unto him. For instance, a green bird enters a green tree not to become one with the tree, but to enjoy the fruits of the tree. Impersonalists generally give the example of a river flowing into the ocean and merging. This may be the source of happiness for the impersonalist, but the personalist keeps his personal individuality like an aquatic in the ocean. You find so many living entities within the ocean if you go deep. Surface acquaintance with the ocean is not sufficient. One must have complete knowledge of the aquatics living in the ocean depths. Okay. So this is a very important verse of the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is describing to Arjuna the next step after Brahma Bhuta. So Brahma Bhuta is realizing that I am a spiritual being, but once when one progresses on that path, then he can realize that I'm not just a spiritual being, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead is a supreme spiritual being, and I can relate to that Supreme Person in pure devotional service, in bhakti, in love, and in service. And this is the only way Krishna says that one can understand me. If we try to understand Krishna through jnana, through austerity, through other means, then we often misunderstand him and we are not able to establish that loving relationship with him, because Krishna is only pleased by bhakti, and everything else he gives because people are attracted to other things. That's why he describes other processes. But what really pleases him the most and what really captures him is this process of bhakti. Through the process of bhakti, one can actually, Krishna becomes purchased by the pure devotion. Just like we see Mother Yashoda, she's running after Krishna with a stick in her hand. And who can run after God with a stick in their hand? In no other path, Krishna will allow that. But only in bhakti, he becomes subservient to Mother Yashoda's stick. And he's actually crying out of fear that she may beat him up. And this is a special privilege that Krishna allows to his devotees. He becomes like a plaything in their hand. And one can actually understand Krishna as he is. You want to say something?
I think the important point there was, and Prabhupada brought it, that sometimes when people hear the word Vishate Tadanantaram, then people, most of the world actually think that there is no difference between God and the living entity. And so even though we have talked about this, this is actually one of the the greatest attempts by the teachers in our line to establish the personal nature of the absolute truth. Because most of the times, what we hear when we hear about spirituality is this impersonal understanding that actually it's all one, or that we are God,
Hmm.
right? So, or that when we become liberated, it all ends in nothingness, or it all ends in oneness,
Hmm.
right? One of the two. So, here in this verse, Krishna is saying that, and Prabhupada is actually bringing it out, based on all the other things that Krishna has spoken in the Bhagavad-Gita, that the living entity always maintains his individuality. And he, just like a green parrot entering into a green tree, doesn't mean that he has lost his identity.
Hmm.
So when we say Aham Brahmasmi, or Soham, and all these different aphorisms, it simply means that we are made of the same spiritual substance, but it doesn't mean that we are God. So.
Text 56. Sarvakarmani api sada kurvano madhyapashraya matprasadada apnoti shashvatam padam abhyayam. Though engaged in all kinds of activities, my pure devotee under my protection reaches the eternal and imperishable abode by my grace. So, a devotee is not renouncing the world, he's engaged with the world, doing all kinds of things, but he's doing it under Krishna's protection. He's doing it under Krishna's direction, and therefore he's always protected. And ultimately, he reaches the imperishable abode of Krishna by his grace. Chetasa sarva karmani mai sanyasya matparaha buddhi yogam upashritya macchitta satatam bhava. In all activities, just depend upon me and work always under my protection. In such devotional service, be fully conscious of me. So Krishna is now in these next few verses is giving us the the method of how to work in this world and how to turn our work into worship and not be affected by either the work or the situation or the fruits of the work. So the key here is to depend on Krishna, because ultimately we are dependent on him whether we accept it or not. But when we depend consciously depend on him, then we always work under his protection.
Finish it today, right?
Yeah. Mat chitta sarva durgani mat prasada tarishyasi atha chetvam ahankara na shosyasi vinakshasi. If you become conscious of me, you will pass over the obstacles, all the obstacles of conditional life by my grace. If however, you do not work in such consciousness but act through false ego, not hearing me, you will be lost.
I can continue reading.
No, you want to say something?
No, I think we can continue here.
Okay.
Because the next verse also gets into the same idea. If you do not act according to my direction and do not fight, then you will be falsely directed. By your nature, you will have to be engaged in warfare. Under illusion, you are now declining to act according to my direction, but compelled by the work born of your own nature, you will act all the same, O son of Kunti. So he's again reiterating what he has already spoken in the second chapter, right? That it is his nature. It's something, this is part of his dharma. So if he doesn't act in this way, he'll still be impelled by the modes of nature that he's born with.
Ishvara sarvabhutanam hirdeshya arjuna tishtati brahmayan sarvabhutani yantra rudhani mayaya. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated as on a machine made of the material energy. So another beautiful verse where Krishna is describing how he is acting, he is present as the super soul and he's directing the wanderings of all of us. This body is just like a machine. Hirdeshe.
O sky of Bharata, surrender unto him utterly. By his grace, you will attain transcendental peace and the supreme and eternal abode. So this idea of surrender, and we had a wonderful speaker last Friday who actually gave a full talk on surrender. The next few verses, Krishna is actually taking us to that point of that very famous verse from Bhagavad-Gita, Sarvadharman. So
why is Krishna referring to himself in a third person?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is
it's
that
very
because of the
interesting.
humility that you talked about earlier?
Yes. Yes.
That's very good. Yeah. Text 63. Thus I have explained to you knowledge, still more confidential. Deliberate on this fully and then do what you wish to do. So this is again a very, very important principle that, Krishna has spoken the entire Bhagavad Gita, But this is the way he deals with each one of us, that he gives us the knowledge, but he gives us the freedom to choose or not to choose. So there is no coercion, there is no force, or there is no, guilt tripping anyone, right? Krishna is just saying, well, I've spoken to you. These are the advantages, these are the disadvantages, but ultimately, you get to decide what you want to do. And he's saying that before you decide, think about it, deliberate on this fully.
Because you are my very dear friend, I am speaking to you my supreme instruction, the most confidential knowledge of all. Hear this from me, for it is for your benefit. So Krishna is very selective in whom he reveals this very selective, very supreme instruction. In many places he says, this is the most confidential, and because you are my friend, I am revealing this to you. But this something that is so confidential, actually Krishna's devotees, they are even more merciful than Krishna, because they reveal this most confidential instruction of Krishna to everybody, whoever is interested, and they are not waiting for that person to become like fully friendly with Krishna, and then they disseminate it, and then therefore such person is, Krishna is going to reveal that how such person is actually very dear to him. This is another very famous verse.
And he does this. This is the one verse that comes twice, right?
Yeah, this is the, with just one change in line, but yeah. Manmanabha madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vasyashi satyam te prati jane priyosi me. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. So 4 simple instructions: always thinking of Krishna, becoming his devotee, worshipping him and offering our homage unto him, which means offering obeisances to Krishna. And these are very simple things to do. Becoming Krishna's devotee is chanting his names and doing service to Krishna.
And then the very famous verse. Sarva-dharman parityaja mamekam sharanam praja aham tvam sarva-papebhyo mokshashyami ma shuchaha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So this is this culmination of all the instructions that Krishna is giving in the Bhagavad-Gita, is this idea of surrender, which is, of course, it's a little scary for the conditioned soul. And what does it really even mean, this varieties of religion? Does it mean that Krishna is saying that, give up, Christian religion or Muslim religion, or which religion is he talking about here, right? So this is again an instance where a word, when it's translated into English, gives a different meaning or a different connotation than its original intent. So the original word is dharma, right? So this is actually not referring to any particular religion of the world. So it's not that Krishna is saying that give up all these other religions and just come to me. What he's saying when he's using the word dharma is that we tend to live our life very, very attached to different kinds of duties, right? So whether it's our social duty, or it's a political duty, or it's a family duty, or my duty as a son, or as a daughter, or as whatever. I mean, we have, we hold on to so many duties, and we think that those duties are the purpose of my life, right? So different people live their life dedicating themselves to different kinds of duties. Some people become humanitarians, so they think they have a duty towards towards the entire human race. So Krishna is saying that all of these different duties, give them up and just surrender to me, just surrender. And we talked about, when Vaisheshika Prabhu came, he spoke about 2 principles of surrender, which are practical: accepting things favorable and rejecting things that are not favorable. And then Arjuna's original doubt that what about, because when I engage in these activities, there'll be some sinful reactions. So Krishna is saying that is the only way. Remember, we talked about karma, vikarma, and akarma, if you remember. So the akarma, right, that happens by surrendering, because Krishna says then when you act, even when you engage in this battle, you will not incur any reactions. So actually all your work will become akarma, and beyond that, it'll actually become bhakti, right? And then he knows, Krishna, I have come to this section of this verse so many times because Krishna knows how difficult it is for a conditioned soul to actually surrender.
Hmm.
So he says that, yeah, it's scary. I understand, but don't be scared. So in the process of surrendering, we are letting go and we are accepting so many things that might not seem, comfortable for us. And that's why Krishna says earlier on that, what appears to be nectar in the beginning is poison in the end. And what's poison in the beginning is nectar in the end. So in the beginning, some of these aspects of bhakti may seem very difficult, but we can always remember this verse where Krishna is kind of imploring. It's like a love call, saying that, hey, enough. You've gone through, you know, countless lifetimes of just suffering. I'm reaching out, and just come to me. It's described that a living entity sheds countless tears in its entire journey in this material world. It's enough to fill a big ocean. And so Krishna says that I understand that it is a very difficult place and you don't have to, be here and think that you have some business here. So, the reason why we are here is because we still think that I have some business. And if I don't fulfill that business, right, then something, the world will stop or something. And of course, we have to be responsible in our duties, but not at the expense or not at the sacrifice of our primary duty.
Yeah, the surrender here basically just means that um, come to your natural condition, because the natural condition of the soul is to be always dependent on Krishna, and we are surrendered. We think that we are not surrendered, but we are surrendering to the material energy all the time. And every single time we surrender to the material energy, we surrender to IRS, we surrender to a police officer who stops us on the highway. We are surrendering to so many aspects of this material energy. So Krishna say, why indirectly surrender? Why don't you directly surrender to me? So that way you can just bypass this material energy and directly come under me. It's like if it is very sunny, then you just come under a shady tree. How difficult is that? We basically take shelter or surrender into that tree.
Actually, that's the point wanted to make. That again, when the word sharanam, sharnagati, when it's translated into English, then it translates as surrender. But actually, it
It's
means
shelter.
it's shelter. Like we're all looking for some shelter. I know I am. I have been looking my entire life. Like, we need shelter because we are not independent, and we know that we cannot control our life situation. So we are all looking for some shelter. But whatever shelter we find in this world, they don't,
It's not sufficient.
it doesn't, they themselves, if you take shelter of any person, that person himself cannot give shelter to himself. How can he give shelter to us? So Krishna is saying that just come to me and I can give you the shelter that you're looking for.
And abandoning all varieties of religion, it just means that we have other duties, they become subservient to this primary duty of following Krishna's instruction. That becomes the primary focus of our life, and all other duties, they take a secondary seat. It doesn't mean that we literally abandon those duties, or we become irreligious or immoral. Krishna is not at all saying that. It just means that that's our primary duty, is to serve Krishna and follow his instructions, nobody else's instruction, not our mind, not our society, not our whatever. We follow Krishna instruction, and which is very universal and which is very widely accepted, Krishna's instruction.
Actually, in the next few sections, I wanted to, if I don't know if Ankur is still there, but I wanted to ask him
He
something.
left.
Oh, he left. Okay.
This confidential knowledge may never be explained to those who are not austere or devoted or engaged in devotional service, nor to one who is envious of me. So this simply means that Krishna is saying that if you try to prematurely explain these confidential instructions that become a devotee of Krishna or surrender to him, then people may not accept that. But the basic instructions that we are not this body, how we are soul, these can be accepted and understood by everybody, and gradually they can begin to appreciate Krishna and form a relationship with him. But so we should be, what Krishna is saying is that we should be careful in our sharing this knowledge, and depending on where the person is, we can give them more or less depending on how much they are willing to accept.
And so that's why, and it's kind of interesting that this verse is followed by the next verse, where he's saying that there is, for one who explains the supreme secret to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed. And at the end, he will come back to me. And then that is followed by this very, very famous verse where Krishna says, there is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear.
Hmm.
So Krishna is actually speaking three things here.
Hmm.
One, first is saying that please do not, share or explain this to someone who is not really, who doesn't have any faith or who's envious. And then he's saying, but then there is no one in this world who's more dear to me than someone who actually explains this knowledge, right? And so and for such a person, pure devotional service is guaranteed, and at the end, he will come back to me, right? So he's making a claim. So what does it mean? It means that one has to become very adept at knowing how to share this knowledge, and what is the art of sharing this knowledge. And that is, of course, the quickest way for us to attract Krishna's attention is when we can become an ambassador of goodwill, right? And we can carry this knowledge within us, and we learn the art that for some people it may simply mean that we fan their spark, wherever they are at. If they are not ready for pure devotional service, then we give them what they can handle. So but for that we have to become expert physicians, right? So we don't use a steroid for every single disease, right? Or we don't carry a hammer in our hands and say, now that we have this knowledge, I'm going to go around and fix the whole world. Rather, our mood is wherever a person is at, let's encourage them in different ways. And by doing that, we learn the art of how to share this knowledge in a way that is palatable and it is pleasing, and yet it is truthful.
Yes. And I declare that he who studies this sacred conversation of ours worships me by his intelligence. So there's so many ways to worship Krishna.
And also I was just thinking that actually we are actually, as we finish this Bhagavad Gita, we're kind of entering into this, this time of the year when we actually distribute the Bhagavad Gita, right? Leading up to Gita Jayanti.
Yeah, this is like the last couple of months of the year. We focus on a wide distribution of the Bhagavad Gitas, sending them to different places and reaching out to all different people to encourage them to reach out to people they know. So we'll be reaching out to you as well. We're just forming that the steps.
So this year it's even more exciting because you guys become part of our team,
Yeah.
right? So wherever you are, our team has just expanded because of your presence. So this is actually a very important part of understanding the Bhagavad Gita, is actually the sharing of this knowledge. They actually go hand in hand, and that's what Krishna is saying, that there's no one more dear to me, if one can actually distribute or share this knowledge. Because in the world right now we see there are enough skyscraper buildings, enough hospitals, but yet people are suffering. But if we can somehow impart or share at whatever level we can this knowledge, then actually the whole world can become a peaceful place, right?
And at least whoever gets this knowledge, their life will be changed, as our lives have been changed. And one who listens with faith and without envy becomes free from sinful reactions and attains to the auspicious planets where the pious dwell.
O son of Pritha, O conqueror of wealth, have you heard this with an attentive mind? And are your ignorance and illusions now dispelled? So let's hear from you. Have you guys heard it with an attentive mind? And has your ignorance and illusion been dispelled? Krishna is asking this to Arjuna. Let's hear from you. What do you say?
Well, it's a long process. It's slowly dissipating. It's a long ways to go. But I think it's definitely made a lot of change ever since I met you guys in 2010 to now. It's been a long road, but I think it's definitely seen a long change. And I'm really thankful to that.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Mataji and Prabhuji. This is Yogesh.
Yeah.
I attended this session today, and I think this was the needed session for me today. And I was really needing this knowledge that you gave today, and definitely it has again revived, refreshed all. A lot of dirt keeps accumulating on mind. So thank you so much for helping me remove that, and again showing me the path today and every day for last many months. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So Amrita, Shweta, Daryl Ashley, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, like, I think since the time we started, doing the Bhagavad Gita, I think, my perception about everything around me, the awareness really, went up. Like, I feel like there's a huge change in me and how the way I look at things. So I try to, read myself every day. And, the more I read, the more I learn about, how we should behave and how we should think. And I feel like slowly, gradually I see, slight changes in the way I do things.
Wonderful.
That's wonderful.
So that's your answer to Krishna's question. Has your illusion been dispelled? Okay, nice. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Hare
I
Krishna.
also, yeah, I also see a lot of changes in me, and yes, I feel very positive nowadays. And even if the situations, in a day we deal with many situations like ups and downs and many things, but negativity is far away from me right now. That's what I feel.
That's nice.
That's wonderful.
That's wonderful.
It
Very
has changed the thinking process, I must say.
nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Thank you. All right, so we can continue and we'll stop
Finish it.
again. Yeah, finish it and then we'll take more reflections. Arjuna said, "My dear Krishna, O infallible one, my illusion is now gone. I have regained my memory by your mercy. I am now firm and free from doubt, and am prepared to act according to your instructions."
So this is the position that Krishna is waiting for every living entity to reach, where we can forego our own conceptions of what to do and what not to do, and act according to Krishna's instructions.
And actually, this is another way we can test when, different people speak of the Bhagavad Gita. There are so many speakers of the Bhagavad Gita, right? So many translations. But then after reading that Bhagavad Gita, are we willing to act according to Krishna's instruction? That is the fruit by which we can see whether our understanding of Bhagavad Gita has led us. Arjuna is, actually acting as a representative of all the students. What happens to Arjuna as a result of listening to the Bhagavad Gita? Does he take up the path of non-violence and say, okay, I'm just going to be a non-violent person? Does he, retreat into a cave, right? What kind of transformation happens to Arjuna? Based on the transformation that happens in Arjuna, we can understand that what is the purpose of the Bhagavad Gita, because Arjuna has understood it completely, right? So he's saying that I've become firm, which means that I've become perfectly situated and I'm determined now, and I don't have any more doubts. And most importantly, that I'm prepared to act according to your instructions.
Karishye vachanam tava. And that can be the motto of our life. That Krishna, I want to follow your instructions. I'm not able to follow, but allow me and give me the strength so I can follow your instructions in every situation of my life. You can read this. Krishna consciousness is acting according to Krishna's order. A conditioned soul, illusioned by the external energy of matter, does not know that the Supreme Lord is the Master who is full of knowledge and who is the proprietor of everything. Whatever he desires, he can bestow upon his devotees. He is the friend of everyone, and he is specially inclined to his devotee. He is the controller of this material nature and of all living entities. He is also the controller of inexhaustible time, and he is full of all opulences and all potencies. The Supreme Personality of Godhead can even give himself to the devotee. One who does not know him is under the spell of illusion. He does not become a devotee, but a servitor of Maya. Arjuna, however, after hearing Bhagavad Gita from the Supreme Lord, became free from all illusion. He could understand that Krishna was not only his friend, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he understood Krishna factually. So to study Bhagavad Gita is to understand Krishna factually. When a person is in full knowledge, he naturally surrenders to Krishna. When Arjuna understood that it was Krishna's plan to reduce the unnecessary increase of population, he agreed to fight according to Krishna's desire. He again took up his weapons, his arrows and bow, to fight under the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Sanjaya said, "Thus have I heard the conversation of two great souls, Krishna and Arjuna. And so wonderful is that message that my hair is standing on end." And then 75, we are reaching the end of Bhagavad-Gita. By the mercy of Vyasa, I have heard these most confidential talks directly from the master of all mysticism, Krishna, who was speaking personally to Arjuna.
And I guess I want to make the point that sometimes it may seem that Arjuna was personally listening to Bhagavad Gita and I am not, so it won't have the same impact. But what Prabhupada has explained is that when we are reading Bhagavad Gita, then Krishna is directly speaking to us. That is not indirectly through Arjuna to us. He's directly speaking to us. And when we are listening to like Prabhupada or all the acharyas, and that message is as transparent. Therefore, Prabhupada named his Bhagavad Gita as it is, which means that you are hearing it as it is, as if you were in the place of Arjuna. So there is no question of like time separating us like 5,000 years ago that I was not on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. We are directly hearing it from Krishna and it is meant for us. If you read the Bhagavad Gita in that mood, that everything that is said here, Krishna is directly talking to me, then we'll actually receive the message in that spirit. O King, as I repeatedly recall this wondrous and holy dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, I take pleasure, being thrilled at every moment.
O King, as I remember the wonderful form of Lord Krishna, I'm struck with wonder more and more, and I rejoice again and again.
Because the universal form, Prabhupada says, everybody was terrified, but Krishna's form, as he was seeing, is very pleasure-giving.
And this is the final verse.
Yeah. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna Yatra Partho Dhanurdharaha Tatra Shri Vijayo Bhute Dhruva Nitir Matir Mama. Wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, and wherever there is Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will also certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. That is my opinion. So wherever Krishna and his devotees are, there's always victory, morality, everything perfect happens by Krishna's grace.
Because we're all looking for, all of these things, right? And so the source of everything is Krishna. And at the same time, wherever there's Arjuna, right, which means that the person who can receive this knowledge and act on that knowledge and is devoted. So that's where one will actually find all the opulences. And that is his opinion. Dhruva Netir Matir Mama.
So if we are following Krishna and Krishna is in our life, then although it may sometimes seem that there is some trouble or some suffering or whatever, but because Krishna is present in our thoughts and actions, we will always be victorious. Because nobody can defeat Krishna. Om Tat Sat. So that's the end of.
And Dhritarashtra was shown the form of Krishna, but he still did not believe that Krishna was more. He still thought that Duryodhana would do the best for him.
Exactly. Even though he could see. So that shows, right, that even after seeing Krishna, so this actually, leads to another important point. It's not just enough to see. It's actually more important to hear and act on those instructions. That's how we see Krishna, right? There were so many people who could see Krishna when Krishna was present, but then it didn't change their hearts. They were still, engaged in all kinds of nefarious activities. But what is the difference? A devotee actually sees by hearing through the ears and then acts on it. So if you guys don't mind getting on the, we just finished, like a marathon, and we would love to hear from you and look at you guys and share, if you guys can, maybe share your reflections. And this is a big event, finishing off the Bhagavad Gita. When we started, we never thought we would see this day, and here we are. So we can start with Tapas Prabhu and then Tarun, yeah, all of you guys, you've finished your study of Bhagavad. Tarun Prabhu, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, initially also, I also thought that whether when this will actually get over, not because it is boring or something, but this is like an ocean of knowledge that we are into, and from one chapter to another chapter when you're moving, the actual confusions are more increasing. Of course, in the last one, everything is become conclusive, and the way others said, like Amrita and Shweta, that it has really changed the way we look at the life, look at the things, our thoughts, our outlook, everything is changed. But I still feel that I have not understood it in totality. Probably I will have to, study it more and more. I have taken one Gita. I have been following it for last few chapters very, sincerely. In between, I had some issues in my family, so I had to, skip some. So I'll catch up with that in the Facebook one, and then if in case there is some doubts, I'll definitely come back to.
Absolutely. And we
you all.
plan to go back to all those chapters and discuss the questions. So that way it'll become more solid. And then, of course, you guys are preparing wonderful presentations. So that way it will
Yes.
become more solid also. But thank
And
you.
we always want to be in that state where we feel that I have not understood it, because we never want to fully understand Bhagavad Gita. You always want to
Right, exactly. So I want to keep learning
Yeah.
and
Yes.
keep repeating. I remember Mata Vidarbha has told once that first time when you completed, you went and told that, okay, I have completed. Then you have been told that, okay, you start again.
Exactly.
So
That was
possibly I will have to start again.
absolutely, absolutely. That is true. That's very nice. Thank you for remembering
Thank
that.
you.
Anybody else?
The one thing I would want to say is, like, I think more than learning something from it, I feel like I'm unlearning a lot of things that I used to do, and my habits, I'm changing that. So it feels more like, before you actually understand it, you have to unlearn the things that you've learned up until now.
That's true. Very good point. Yes.
And that unlearning is basically removing that cloud of illusion from our mind.
Anybody else? Tapas Prabhu, Sindhu Raghu, Daryl Ashley.
Yeah, I can say, Mataji. I mean, I joined the class midway at chapter 7, and since then I don't think I missed any class. Maybe I missed one class, but of course I had issues at my end. That's why I couldn't join in the beginning. But I have tried to listen as attentively as possible. And as far as ignorance and illusion being dispelled, I must say that I am more like Dasuratnakar, the Valmiki, who just obeys his guru and chants Mara Mara. I'm such a kind of a person who just because such people with such authority or such big heart tell me to do something, I'll blindly do this. I really don't apply logic when I want to chant or anything. No, I just have to do it. I just do that way. And I mean, even though I have understood illusion dispelled, but this life is carrying millions of lives of sins, so it will take time for me to practice all these things. But I do acknowledge that at each and every step, and makes remind myself that, hey, I'm not supposed to do this. So probably few more million lifetimes I'll probably be purely Krishna conscious.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, and that is the mood of a devotee, that a devotee just follows the guru, acharya, simple-heartedly. And through that implicit faith, we make tremendous amount of advancement.
Yeah.
Prabhupada says that is like Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when King Prataparudra, he asked Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya about Lord Chaitanya, and Lord Chaitanya said, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, yes, Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Lord. And King Prataparudra immediately accepted it without any further doubts or questioning. And Prabhupada writes that that is the mood of a devotee, accepting. We can still question if we don't understand something, but we don't question the premise itself or the conclusions, or challenge rather. Anybody else?
Well, I can make a short statement. Well, I had been, it's interesting. Normally I have always some sort of line to say, something prepared, some sort of, maybe funny statement or something like that. But in answer to this question, I don't really I'm kind of at a loss for words. It's just so much has happened here in our class and in my own life, you know, just over these past few months that I can't believe we made it to the end. It doesn't even seem real. It doesn't even seem possible.
Yeah.
But I mean, for me, it was kind of like standing on the beach and being washed over by a big wave, and just a lot of information, as my colleagues like to call it, a data dump. Just a lot of information. I mean, obviously I had read the Bhagavad-Gita on my own before with, you know, different commentaries, but to have it all presented in this very comprehensive and detailed way, you know, night after night after night, it's just sort of, you know, kind of penetrating into my mind, because I don't know about my colleagues here, but my illusion is very thick and very deep and very hard to penetrate. And I'm not even sure that I've broken through exactly yet, but I think that if I go back and read Bhagavad Gita as it is, read each verse and each purport carefully on my own, and you know, I think in doing so, I think I'll recall some of the points that were raised in the class. I think that I will kind of reach a new level of understanding and appreciation for Srila Prabhupada's work, because this is the book that he wrote, you know, based on the original text. And I think I need to take a much closer look, and the things that we discussed in this class will, I think, help me get a lot more out of it when I go back and study it on my own.
Thank you. Wonderful realization, Eric.
Thank you.
Hi,
Yes,
Rita.
your voices are breaking.
Hi, you know, I have amazing reflection from this whole class. Like it just like Eric said, it does feel like a washing has taken place, like almost like a rebirth, because even though they feel like I can see, because it's at its end, like my soul kind of doesn't want it to end, so I'm trying to retrace steps back to like the main points that stood out. What I got out of everything has been instilled inside of my heart for action. Like it's, I can't really recall everything word from word, but it's I can feel it written on my soul, and the feeling, like the transformation that I feel is not only just the clarity and clear-mindedness, but it's a process that is beginning now, that is like basically going through everything that I once thought I knew, and kind of like just like dumping it out, like just like a release, like almost freeing myself from the hold of knowledge, if that makes sense. Because to know, and when most of the knowledge that we gain it, we don't gain it in fullness when we receive it, or sometimes it's received by people that may not be dedicated like you two are as our gurus, you know, and our well-being. It's just kind of overheard, or we run across information, like all of that just kind of like I feel set from it, and now it's empty space, and I know that that's like Krishna really guiding us forward, you know, and the unknown is not unknown anymore, because it's like wherever we go, wherever we step at, whether it's in towards a shadow or darkness or light, wherever we go, it's all, the path is going to be illuminated just off the simple consciousness of knowing that Krishna is everything. Like that new concept was like the unknowingness of the release of the previous knowledge and not knowing where to step at. That fear is now gone. So it's real. I'm just excited, you know, about
We're
what's
excited to wait for your presentations.
So
Thank
that,
you.